In this video, we'll be walking through the steps to create a VoiceThread assignment. It is assumed that if you are watching this video and want to create an assignment, that you have already watched or have knowledge of the following: knowing what VoiceThread is and some uses. Have created a VoiceThread homepage link in the course you plan to create assignments in. Know the general workflow when working with VoiceThread. Note that if you have not created a homepage link and have not created the VoiceThread templates that you will be choosing from to create an assignment, you should do those activities first. This workflow will make creating and working with assignments easier. If you are set with what I just mentioned, let's dive into learning about assignment creation. To preface our look at assignment creation, VoiceThread has three types of graded assignments. They include a create assignment, where students are required to make a VoiceThread using video, images, documents, or presentations like PowerPoint. A comment assignment, where students are required to make one or more comments on a VoiceThread. A watch assignment, where students must watch or listen to an entire VoiceThread where you are not asking for comments. If we were to put this in order of simple or least amount of activity, or harder or most amount of activity, it would be watch, comment, and then create. I should also mention before we dive in more that you should consider most of the assignments you might assign in VoiceThread as a type of formative assessment. In other words, more low-stake assessments. Depending on your topics and what you might require for the assignment, it could fall into the category of summative assessment. This is especially the case if you are assigning the create assignment, since it tends to fall into the category of project-based activity. Some other things to take note of as far as formative versus summative assessment in VoiceThread is the settings that you might use. Unlike the quiz tool in D2L, there is not a time limit component in VoiceThread. You can set how long the comments can be, but they have all the time they want to prepare a comment when watching slides in a VoiceThread. This means they can watch a slide, then pause and come up with a comment, and then record the comment. I don't know if this is a concern for those who will use this tool. Just know it's not really a replacement for a timed quiz at this time. It's more for discussions or presentations. Let's now dive into how to create an assignment. For our first example, we will walk through a watch assignment. The first part of the process is like what you did to create your homepage link. First, go to the module that you'll be posting the VoiceThread assignment in. If you are in the old view of D2L, choose Existing Activities, and in the drop-down menu, scroll to the bottom and select VoiceThread. If you are using the new view of D2L, choose Add Existing, and then look for the VoiceThread icon and select it. As a side note, I am mentioning the two different views since we are in transition right now while creating these tutorials. After doing so, either in the old or new view, you will get the same pop-up box where you will choose an activity type. We saw this same pop-up box when creating our VoiceThread homepage link. Find and choose Assignment Builder. In the next window, you will see three assignment options. Note that there is also a fourth option where you can reconnect to a previous assignment. In most cases, you probably won't choose this option. For our first example, we'll be assigning a watch assignment, so choose Watch and click Continue. Next, we will be presented with a list of threads from our home page that we will choose from. At this point, you will have also noticed that we are still working in the small pop-up box within D2L. As mentioned in a previous video, we can open a new full-size tab to work in via the link in the top right corner. Let's go ahead and choose that so we have more room to work in. You should now note that we now have a new browser window to work in. For this watch example, we are going to choose a voice thread that has a mix of static slides and video. Click on the radio button on the voice thread panel to select it. A refresh window opens with the chosen thread in the first placeholder. Also, you will see text that reads, "Selecting an existing voice thread will make a copy for it for use in this assignment." All you need to do is select Continue again at the bottom. Next, a window will appear with all of the slides that are part of the thread. Here, you can decide if you want all the slides or just a couple, as well as rearrange the order. You also have the option of adding more media to the voice thread. We're going to select All and click Continue. The thread opens, and we have the opportunity to add comments and annotations to each of the slides if necessary. Once we have completed those edits, we click Continue. We are now in the part of the process where we complete the specific settings for playback and interaction with the thread. Note that some of the options will differ depending on the type of assignment you are creating. Looking at the specific settings here, I would suggest that you keep the Start Playing When Opened deselected so students are not surprised that it starts to play right away. You can decide what permissions you want to allow. In most cases, these would be left deselected. We are done with this page, so we click Continue. Next, you will enter in the assignment name. This will be the name of the link in D2L that students will click on to get access to the thread. In the Instructions field, fill out what the requirements are for the assignment. For the Example URL field, you can leave that blank. In other assignment types, you might enter in a URL of an example thread that your students could model if needed. For the Message After Student Submission field, you can leave the default text or enter in what you wish. Completion of prior assignments and dates. These settings can be a little fuzzy, considering we're using this within D2L. If you set these wrong, students could be blocked from doing the assignment, sometimes by accident. I would rather suggest that you use the starting and due dates as well as prior completion in the D2L content area, where you have a little bit more control. Lastly, you can choose to have students view the assignment after submitting. In this case, since it's just a watch assignment, it may not be necessary to, unless you want them to be able to refer back to this. Now, you can click Publish to finish the process. You may now see a processing indicator appear. This might last for a minute or two. If it seems to go longer, you do not need to wait for this. You can close the new expanded window you used and go back to D2L. Looking at your content, you should see the link to the assignment. If we switch to the student view, this is what they would see. Let's next look at the comment assignment. You will again go through the same initial process that we did for the watch assignment. After going through this process and choosing Assignment Builder, you will choose Comment in the type of assignment you want to create. Then choose Continue. At this point, if you would like, you can again open it in a full-size tab so you can have a better environment to work in. Now, in our new window, you will be presented with two options: Instructor's Voice Thread and a previous assignment in this course. The option you would probably choose at least 95% of the time is the Instructor Voice Thread. The previous assignment option is something that has recently been added. It can be used for situations where you may have done an assignment with a thread and want to go back and do additional work with it. In this case, we choose Instructor Voice Thread and select Continue. We are now presented with our list of voice threads that we have created. For this example, I'm going to choose an Introduce Yourself thread, planning this as an introductory activity to get students familiar with VoiceThread. Again, make sure to select Continue. Like the Watch assignment that we walked through earlier, we are presented with all of the slides in the thread. And like the Watch assignment, we can choose individual slides or all, as well as add additional media and also rearrange the slides if needed. In this case, we will select all and continue. Next, we have the option to go through each slide and add comments, directions, and annotations if needed. Unlike the Watch thread, you probably want to add some comments or directions. Then, when we have completed this, we select Continue. Now, we set the participation requirements. Again, similar to the Watch assignment. Items that you will want to consider include adjusting the number of comments and slides visited, selecting the comment type, allowing students to add slides. This is different than the Create assignment, since they are only adding 1 or 2 slides to the thread and not creating a full thread. In the next settings, you will want to consider if you want threaded commenting. An example of this is what you see in the discussions in D2L. Comment moderation. A student can see only their comments unless you release it. This is like the D12 discussion option of students need to post a thread before being able to see others. And limiting length of each comment. This can be set to minutes and seconds. Going next to playback, you will probably want all of these deselected. The last section on this page is permissions. Again, the default is to leave these deselected. When done, click Continue. We are now on our last screen. You will first name the assignment. Again, this will be the name of the link the students will select in D2L. Assignment instructions. Here, you want to be clear as to what you want your students to do for the assignment. List step-by-step actions is a good idea to include. Example URL. This you will not need to worry about until you do a Create assignment, where you may want to give them an example of what the finished thread would look like. Message after submission. You can leave the default text or edit it to your own needs. This next section that includes prior assignment completion and dates can be left blank. How these work in practice can be a little fuzzy, especially when you start to grade. As mentioned when working through the watch assignment, since we use this within D2L, I would use the due dates and tools in D2L to set these functions if needed. The last item to consider is grading type: percentage, complete or incomplete, or points. Selecting points will open a box where you can enter the amount. Note that these settings should carry into the gradebook, since you create the gradebook item here and not within the gradebook due to the linking. When finished, choose Publish. Again, you will see a processing icon, which may last 1 to 2 minutes. If it seems to go longer, you can choose to close this window and go back to D2L. You should now see the link to the assignment. And here is a quick look at the student view. We have one more assignment type, the Create assignment, where students create their own full voice thread. Most of the actions you will take will be similar to the other two assignment types that we just walked through, so I will just highlight some of the differences. After choosing Create and Continue, you will skip through the steps of looking through your voice threads, choosing a thread, selecting slides, and posting comments and annotations on various slides. You will be brought to the latter portion of the process, where you set up the participation requirements. Going down the list, the number of comments now states the number of comments students must record on their own voice thread. Next, we see number of slides required for the thread. Under comment types, I would leave these all selected, which is the default for this type of assignment. You can also follow the defaults for the next set of items, including playback and permissions. When done reviewing these settings, choose Continue. Our last screen before we publish is the same as the others. One note, you may want to consider posting an example URL, a model of what you did to have them follow for their thread creation. If you choose not to do this, make sure that you have clear details in the instructions here, and even include some in the D2L content area. When done, choose Publish. And, like the other assignments, a publishing indicator with a text weight will appear. As mentioned previously too, it may take 1 to 2 minutes for it to process. If it seems to take longer, you can go ahead and close this window and go back to D2L. We are now back in D2L, and as you see, we have the link to the assignment. And this is what students will see when accessing this assignment. That ends our look at the 3 assignment types you can use in VoiceThread. Due to the length of this tutorial, we're going to create an additional shorter tutorial that just focuses on grading. Besides the grading tutorial, we also have one more additional tutorial that takes a deeper dive into the interface.